Yes, we're returned to public session. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Breton, an associated topic from what we've been discussing that I first want to ask you some questions about is the independent ombudsman. You are aware that at one stage Liverpool City Council had an internal ombudsman?
Yes.
There was an internal ombudsman policy?
Yes.
Would we please bring up INQ.001.001.0101, and it can be live streamed? If we just go down that page, it was adopted on the 28th of March 2018.
Yes.
And if we move to page 2, paragraph 2.1 sets out the responsibility, or under purpose and objectives, the responsibilities for the internal ombudsman.
Yes.
And you've got administrating the process for dealing with customer complaints to council, assessing and inquiring into complaints referred by the mayor, councillors and the CEO, assessing and inquiring into complex and difficult complaints referred by council directors and managers, assessing and reviewing privacy complaints, assisting the CEO's complaints coordinator in regard to the code of conduct complaints, managing public interest disclosures, training members of council staff in relation to complaint handling, undertaking internal reviews of decisions by council under the old GIPA, and then undertaking reviews of council's complaint handling process, policies and processes.
Yes.
And then is it your understanding that and sorry, I'll take you to another document, LCC.009.001.0763. Yes. Now, this is dated around January 2023, probably around the time you're starting work at the council.
Yes.
Sorry, it's this weird dating at times. It's actually the 1st of May.
Yes.
And is it your understanding that around this time, council was looking at whether the role of the internal ombudsman or the internal ombudsman function should be abolished?
Yes.
And you can see there, this is from Mr. Portelli. He sets out again the functions and responsibilities of the internal ombudsman office, which includes under 2 code of conduct complaints, by acting as the council's complaint coordinator, and really duplicates the type of if we can jump to 7, it kind of goes 5, 6, 5, 7. A bit weird. Other complaints management and or investigatory roles as the CEO deems appropriate from time to time.
Yes.
And ultimately, I won't take you to the minutes of the council meeting, but it was determined that that role or that function should be abolished.
Yes.
Do you recall the rationale for that position being abolished at that time?
No, I knew the internal ombudsman at the time. I had some interactions, and this was primarily discussion between Mr. Ajaka and Mr. Portelli.
This year, the possibility of the function of the internal ombudsman returning to council has been raised.
Yes.
Excuse me. Would you bring up INQ.042.001.0004? Yes. And you can see from the first page, it's the agenda for the meeting of the 23rd of July.
Yes.
And would you go to page 355? Do you see there a notice of motion for the establishment of an internal independent ombudsman to handle code of conduct and public complaints?
Yes.
Below is the notice of motion.
Yes.
The second aspect of the notice of motion notes the current process whereby complaints and allegations concerning councillors and council staff are managed solely by the council's governance team presents a potential conflict of interest and risks being weaponised to silence legitimate criticism. And number 3 is the proposal to appoint an internal independent ombudsman to be appointed by council who will be responsible for overseeing and investigating code of conduct issues and also complaints submitted by members of public.
Yes.
And if we go to page 356, there are other aspects in paragraph 4 which seem to go to impartiality and independence of the role of internal independent ombudsman.
Yes.
And then develop and implement a framework for the appointment powers and responsibilities of the internal independent ombudsman.
Yes.
Now, towards the bottom of that page, we've got Chief Executive Officer's comments.
Yes.
Can I just ask you, was the process, this notice of motion was put forward within whatever within the requisite time, and that gave you an opportunity to respond by these comments?
Yes.
And just very quickly, through your comments, you set out your view as to some of the matters raised in the notice of motion. In particular, you raise an issue that the creation of an internal ombudsman position is a matter to be determined by the CEO. And then you say no evidence has been presented in the notice of motion to support the premises on which it's proposed.
Yes.
And then you deal with those particular topics. And in particular, over on page 357, you state 15 of the 115 complaints have been concluded. I
Yes.
take it they're complaints about people other than the councillor.
There might have been one.
There might have been one or two, yes, sorry. And then you say if it's found in the complaints process that a complaint constituted misuse of the complaints procedure, that would be identified by the CEO, conduct reviewer or investigator, and may constitute a breach of the code of conduct.
Yes.
And then you've got further consideration. You set out in summary what the various stages in the code of conduct complaint process are.
Yes.
And then across the page, your view is that your report to council on the 18th of June demonstrates complaints are being progressed through each of the stages. No evidence of any partiality. And then finally, costs associated with this recommendation are outside the current budget and long-term financial plan.
Correct.
But the minutes of the council, if we can take up, bring up, INQ.055.001.0005.
Whilst that, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Whilst that's happening, Mr. Breton, in your CEO comments to that notice of motion, tell me if I've misunderstood them or I'm reading them incorrectly, but there were two main propositions that you were responding to, which at least you considered arose from the terms of the notice of motion. One, that code of conduct complaints were being raised inappropriately to stifle legitimate criticism, and your proposition in the note was, well, that's no evidence of that has been put before you. Have I understood you correctly?
Yes.
And secondly, that there was some deficiency in the way that council was at that time dealing with the numbers of complaints.
Yes.
Was there anything else that was driving the content of your response or your comments on the notice of motion that was presented?
No, I just relied on the facts.
Would you go to page, sorry, you can see from this page, it's the minutes of the meeting where that notice of motion was put forward.
Yes.
Would you go through to page 45, please? These are the minutes that consider that notice of motion that I've taken you to.
Yes.
And if we can go across to page 46, we've got the council decision. And that is to direct the CEO to provide a report on alternate methods to deal with the code of conduct complaints, including internal or external ombudsman, and report back to a future council meeting, and then a reference to this public inquiry, and also the Minister and Office of Local Government looking at reforms to the Code of Conduct process. The first part of the resolution that was passed directs you to provide a report. has that report been finalised as yet?
No.
The section in paragraph 2, which raises this inquiry and also, I think it's the discussion paper or the working paper that you were referred to on Wednesday. Are you proceeding with your report on alternate methods, or in a sense, given what was said in paragraph 2, have you put that on hold?
On hold. 2 must come before 1. I accept number 2 is likely, and I'm very, very interested in number 2 as it informs the response to number 1.
We might end up being a bit circular, Mr. Breton, because I'm very interested in your views. For number 2.
I guess my point is that it would be a little bit silly of me to start talking about Liverpool alone, because Liverpool alone has different circumstances than the whole of the local government cohort. So I guess, particularly with the OLG document as well, and what comes out of this, I just want to hear and see the general feeling before I respond, and to take a really informed position about the best outcome.
And this isn't being critical. I can understand what you've just said, given the interrelationship between 1 and 2. Have you looked at all about how other states deal with code of conduct complaints within local government?
Yes, and many of them still have an internal ombudsman model. Mm-hmm. And only last week I sat with the General Counsel and Mr. Portelli to discuss options. I'm actually agnostic. I want to get better and I want to improve the council. And if it assists, I'm happy to do number 1 before number 2. But what I'm looking for is I'm really looking for the best information available, because we've only just changed. And I mean, to change again, that doesn't mean we can't change back.
Sorry, change
from the model of an internal ombudsman to not the model of an internal ombudsman. Functionally, all the activities prescribed in the documents I've seen to date are being managed. It's the key critical areas now: separation, transparency, and go back to a model that allows us to remove any perceptions that may be advantageous at this stage.
You just used the word "I'm agnostic." Is that agnostic towards whether putting to one side budgetary restraints, etc., agnostic as to whether the internal ombudsman position should be reenacted in some form?
Yeah, agnostic is I'm sitting on the fence, and I'm really I don't think it's a cost play, and the reason I say that is the model that we would have to apply looks like an FTE, because if I played a cost position, I'd have to rely on anecdotal evidence, and if I outsourced it under my current numbers, the price would be too high. So I have to think about the average, the mean average across councils, say 5 or 6 matters a year, and all the other things that this person would do. And it sounds to me like it's an FTE with appropriate separation from a transactional perspective and in the organisational design.
Separation in the sense that it would report directly to the CEO GM?
I think I've got a model currently under consultation in the office of the CEO. It appears that the natural fit now would be to put that, and I've got a heightened responsibility to ARIC in that model and governance, and it looks now like it's a hand that fits in that glove.
Do you see any downsides in that structure and what's being discussed?
Only if I can just localise it a bit. If we had the same numbers, I might need 2 of them.
Yeah. But do you see benefits?
I do, and the number and the benefits have become clearer during this process, Commissioner. And it's something that I've got this 28-day period now where I'm looking at this model, and it's a perfect opportunity at this stage, rather than to retrofit, is to adjust.
Accepting that you disagree with the premise of the notice of motion was put, but on some matters, but you still see there being benefits from I think you used the word transparency earlier and perception.
Yes, but the notion of motion was put in the context that tacit, not impropriety, but tacit biases were inherent.
I understand that. That's why I prefaced it by acknowledging you didn't accept those premises. Yes. Outside of the code of conduct process, though, do you see there being benefits in that role if it were occupied with what seems to be the average 5 thereabouts a year of taking on some of those other functions that were within its remit in the past?
I really do, and the reason is Liverpool is a growth council with extensive growth into the northwest towards their metropolis, and the emerging issues in and around developers and some of the other complaint areas, which are complex matters under the description presented. They would be important that we have some kind of professional approach to managing those as well.
What about enhancing or restoring confidence in council processes after you've described them as unprecedented times and some what others have described as periods of instability?
Yeah, I think to the extent that it demonstrates a status quo that we will continue with, I think we have to start baselining some of the processes and removing the ambiguity that one process or another is better or worse than the other. I think we need to embed the processes back to a static position where everybody understands the role and the implications. And I think the reintroduction of the internal ombudsman could do that.
I didn't quite understand that last answer when you start talking about baselining and.
Yeah, I say what I'm saying is I'm a little bit sick of change. So I want to, if this is a position we need to take, then let's put it in play, embed it, and let's not have motions like this come to council, because there should be no ambiguity about this position's role. So that should go across every decision I make in relation to change. Let's get the organisation back future focused, start looking at blue sky a bit, and let's get back to our business. But it must be embedded on a foundation that these roles are understood and known. And if this is a conduit to that will certainly assist.
And this as in a model that sat within your office. This is not a criticism of those who perform the function currently, but I think you've described as being a bit buried within the organisation or deep down or something like that.
Yes, Commissioner, it fascinates me about and most of the businesses around where we're sitting now, the CFO wouldn't sit 3 levels down. The Ombudsman wouldn't sit, or the person in charge of those roles in other businesses in Sydney wouldn't sit there. And I don't know why councils have, or our council has, or other councils have positioned people where they have for certain reasons. Doesn't make much sense to me.
And just for my benefit, when you use the word embedded, does that mean introduced?
Introduced, but on the premise that we're not going to change back. So if we're going to...
So not a temporary introduction?
No, not a temporary. Again, we need to... These things become noise, right? These are policies and processes and organisational design. It's enough for the staff that every 4 years it triggers a review. What I'd love to do in the next 4 years is say, I've reviewed it, let's move on in one day, and that's the process finished. But on every occasion in the past, it's meant a fundamental change to the way we transact. So what we've done on this occasion is taken a very, very transactional approach to the things that council do. And when I finally land on the organisational design, I would hope that that satisfies us moving forward over many terms.
And just to confirm your view of the interaction between 1 and 2, although you're thinking and discussing, for example, with Mr. Portelli, alternative methods, you were going to delay reporting, or you will report to council shortly?
Well, I've been given a bit of a free kick because it says to, I've got to report back at a future council meeting. So I'm taking a literal approach to the word future. Also, the hint from the Commissioner today, I understand that.
No one should interpret my questions as a hint or otherwise.
Sorry, Commissioner. What I was trying to say is, in all fairness, I should sit back and examine the evidence presented at this public inquiry and give it its due weight to when I put my report in play. That's what I mean by that.
Right now, excuse me for a minute. Sorry, Mr. Breton. I wanted to move to 2 other topics which are linked with some of your evidence on code of conduct complaints, but Commissioner, hopefully we don't have to move into a private session concerning those. The first one is social media use. Again, starting broadly, the council has some social media. Sorry, I'll start again. The council itself has some social media. So, for example, it has a Facebook page.
There's some platforms.
Oh, thank you. Good. If you've been listening to every minute of this inquiry, you'll probably realise this area is not one of my fortes. But anyway, so we've got a number of platforms. Also, in addition to that, individual councillors may have a social media platform which is in the title or the handle of Councillor X, but they're in a sense private social media platforms?
Yes, only where a councillor doesn't disclose. If the word private's difficult.
When I use the word private, not controlled by the council.
Correct.
Yeah.
In that context, they are private Facebook or whatever platform accounts. Yes.
Personal to them.
Yes. Yes.
And on a general level, obviously, council can control the content of the council social media platform?
Yes, with the exception of comments. So in the scenario that council posts something, they have control over that.
Mm-hmm.
The responses therein, they may not have control over.
But do they have control to the extent that they can't prevent a comment or a post, but they can remove it?
They have an option to moderate. So any person who has a Facebook account can moderate, can put some conditions around either blocking comments. They could allow comments, and the latest technology through artificial intelligence is they can filter comments. So we do have some control over what the public or other what the public might say on Liverpool City Council's Facebook page.
And again, at a general level, turning to the social media platforms that are controlled by, for example, individual councillors, council cannot control what's put on those.
No.
And also council can't control by either filtering or blocking any comments made in response to postings on those social media pages.
No, only the owner has access to what's called the content management system, or the CMS, and only those persons can control what happens on those individual platforms.
Now, we've seen this through the evidence that you have given about code of conduct complaints, but a number of those complaints raise social media posts or comments.
The vast majority.
And since towards the beginning of 2025, have you been issuing emails or other notices to councillors about social media?
I have.
Would document LCC.022.001.0060 be brought up? Yes. Now, this is dated the 6th of January.
Yes.
I think you might have to go, sorry, Ms. Associate, go down a little bit further. Yes, there. This is under a subject heading of Code of Conduct Obligations.
Yes.
And if you could keep on going down. Can you see, you state that you've been monitoring media and social media reflecting on our brand. That's
yes.
The council's reputation, basically.
Yes, everything about our brand, very protective of our brand.
When you use the word brand, what's within that umbrella?
Yeah, it's about the way our business is perceived, not only from other councils to councils, not only from the constituents to the constituents into council offices, and not only council to council. This is about investment. This is about surety. This is about future possibilities and opportunities that if our brand is affected, then people have less confidence in all the things that Liverpool City Council need to do in the future to be a fantastic growth council. So brand is all encompassing. And when a brand's affected, people may deviate, people may not want to be associated with the brand. And it is really a holistic piece. I am fascinated by this concept of brand as a council because, again, it's a $530 million business, Commissioner. And it's a big business, and the brand is really important to me.
So that's those outside. Well, there's internal communications, brand issues, and perception within the workforce, and etc. But a big part of what you've described to me seems to be outside looking in. What is the view? What is the perception that those people might take of the organisation, and whether they want to have dealings with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been in evidence before this inquiry. I mean, there was indications that our brand is affected by people threatening our workers. This came through the evidence of Morven. There's evidence that, Liverpool are hopeless. The kind of comments that came on media and social media is that we're this bumbling cohort of people that don't know how to do anything, don't do it very well, and proposition perspective, from our culture perspective, from our workplace safety perspective, it's really important that the councillors understand that if they trigger a response like that, it will get read by staff members, and it may have a deleterious effect.
Oh, I might come back to that rather than continue to interrupt at this point.
Now, in addition, and I probably don't need to take you to the next entry, but on the 28th of January, you sent a briefing email to all councillors about social media posts.
Yes.
Again, reminding them of their obligations under the council's media policy and code of conduct.
Yes.
And then on the 26th of February, you sent an email to all councillors and the executive leadership team attaching an article, I think it was from a law firm, Marsden's Law Group.
Yes.
Now, excuse me for a minute. I've just been asked about the document IDs. If I can just state for the transcript, if people want to look at them.
Yes.
They're LCC.003.001.0078 and one which I think has already been tendered, LCC.003.001.0053. Can you just, excuse me? And apparently they're all on high queue.
Thank you.
Now, in that last email, you refer to the social media policy of the council.
Yes.
And in May of this year, a new social media policy was passed by the council.
Correct.
Would document INQ.002.001.0015 be brought up, please? Yes, please. Now, this is the media policy. If we can, sorry, I'll just. What I was, excuse me for a minute. Not sure about. Could you go to paragraph 3.8, please? Which I think it's on page 5. Now, this is headed Standard of Conduct. Council officials must comply with the council's code of conduct and this media policy when engaging with the media. And then there's council officials must not share information or make comments to the media through either direct or indirect mechanisms. And then they list defamatory, offensive, humiliating, threatening or intimidating, contains content that's false, inaccurate, misleading or deceptive. Next one, profound language, etc. constitutes harassment and or bullying.
Yes.
Then over the page, contrary to their duties under the Work Health and Safety Act, etc.
Yes.
And that section refers to council official. Could we just backtrack to paragraph 2? Council official, mayor, councillors, members of staff, delegates.
Yes.
So it's not just for staff or just not for the governing body.
No.
Then if you can go to, if we can jump back to 3.10. Excuse me.
Was this the first policy of this kind?
No, there was, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Doesn't matter.
There was a previous media policy of July 2020.
Okay.
And sorry, I was at 3.10. For purposes of this policy, a council official's social media engagement will be considered private use when the content they upload is not associated with or does not refer to the council, any other council officials, etc., and is not related or does not contain information acquired by virtue of their employment or role as a council official. And then if a council official chooses to identify themselves as a council official, either directly or indirectly, then they will not be deemed to be acting in their private capacity for the purposes of this policy.
Yes.
Can I just ask you, the upshot of this policy in comparison to the previous policy, which I wasn't going to intend taking you to, this now seems to be trying to engage with those social media platforms of the governing body where the name or the handle or something along those lines is Councillor Jane Smith.
Yes.
And the effect of this media policy where, for example, Councillor Jane Smith posts a comment or something along those lines which would breach this media policy, it is now, in a sense, caught up with this media policy and would be seen to be a breach of this media policy.
Correct.
However, the limitations that you identified previously of council can't, in a sense, remove, filter or count or block anything on that private social media platform still exists.
Correct.
But what this does is if Councillor Jane Smith made a posting which, as we saw before, was derogatory of, say, council staff, saying that they were lazy, that is a breach of the social media policy, potentially.
Yes.
And also a breach, potentially a breach of the code of conduct.
Correct.
A breach of the code of conduct, perhaps not only because of the content, but also from a failure to comply with this policy.
Correct.
Is that the import of your answer?
Double-edged sword on that scenario.
And maybe if we jump up to 3.4. We've got the code of conduct provides that the council officials must not conduct themselves in a manner that's contrary to council policy. So as you've just said, if it's a double whammy in a sense. And then just in 3.3, implementation of the policy will be enforced by the CEO and or delegate and the manager, communications, marketing and brand. At the moment, who's enforcing it? Is it remained with you or?
Yeah, yes, it's exactly as it's presented there. So it depends who identifies the issue and where it goes from there. So it can be enforced by somebody notifying me or somebody notifying the manager communication.
And I know there's an overlap as you identified with the Code of Conduct complaints, but since this policy has been introduced or adopted, in about May 2025, and it might be a little bit early, but have you perceived any change in social media, postings on social media platforms by any member of the governing body?
No.
What prompted the review of this policy in May?
The very circumstances we found ourselves in, where there was a influx of these types of issues that forced the policy change. We had to tighten it up around a more contemporary approach in relation to social media. It was the byproduct of the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Were you involved in the development of this policy?
Shane Mallard's team did it. I was aware of it, and it was certainly mentioned at the executive leadership team level, but Shane and the team put this together.
You're leaving this now, Ms. McDonald?
Yes.
Can I just ask, whilst it's on the screen, you see there in 3.5, Mr. Breton, it deals with training and compliance?
Yes.
And the third paragraph down, council will provide training for council officials, which we saw earlier includes the councillors. And then in the last paragraphs, councillors will receive a briefing. If you know, what training have the councillors received training on this policy?
Yeah, in their induction, and also by nature of other forums, notwithstanding the evidence before the Commission today in relation to the email sent from other senior council, or I think it was Marsden's, who may have given some instruction in relation to social media and their roles.
So they wouldn't, though, have received training on the content of this policy in induction, or was it picked up as part of the ongoing process? Is that what you meant?
As part of the ongoing process, notwithstanding that this policy must go before council, and was part of a councillor briefing, and also the governance meeting, and also ARIC saw it. So there's been a number of opportunities. I don't think there's any of the governing body would be surprised about where this media policy being in existence.
If you don't remember, it doesn't matter because there'll be a record. But do you remember whether there was any dissent in the governing body when this policy went up for adoption?
No, but my mind takes me back to Mr. Mallard. There was a lot of iterations, and it was quite. I think Shane was very thorough, but it took a lot of iterations to get this policy landed. A lot of to and fro between the governing body and the executive leadership team and the practitioners within the media team. 8, 9, 10 iterations before we got it right.
All right. And if we can just go down to paragraph 3.17. It's on page 8. Just have a read of that and let me know when you've finished.
Yes.
But I'm interested in the last paragraph. All collateral and promotional material featuring images must include all serving councillors, or there's to be no photograph. Do you know what? Did anything prompt the inclusion of that paragraph?
Yes, it did.
What was it?
It was the photoshopping out of a Labor councillor in the previous year. And then there was some collateral. Every time collateral was released into a positive event, only the mayor's image appeared. The other councillors didn't like that position, and it was discussed on the floor of council, and the decision was that all councillors, if there was an image of the mayor, all councillors' images had to be presented at the same time, and it was to make sure there were again some parity in how we presented our council governing body.
What was the photoshopping that you referred to?
So a number of people had turned up to an event. I just can't recall what the event was. It was an official event. And there was an official photograph, and one of the councillors was on the right edge or the left edge, and that councillor was on the other side of politics in the former council. So they were in the Labor Party, and they were photoshopped out of it, so literally cut out of it.
When did you become aware of this?
Sometime in 24. It was an issue. I mean, it was raised to Mr. Ajaka. I think it appeared. I think it appeared in a post by Councillor Amoon.
But you weren't responsible for investigating it at that time?
No.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
I'm sorry. And since the implementation of this policy, have issues like that arisen and complaints of that kind continued, or has this policy had its desired effect?
In relation to the last sentence there, it's had its desired effect.
So with any social media platform of Liverpool City Council, any, as it says, collateral or promotional material from a particular event should contain photos of all councillors who attended that particular event?
None. So all of them, it either is a picture of all of them or refrain from including any photograph. So it's all or none, but just not the mayor's head alone.
And when you say all, if there's a particular event and only 4 councillors rock up, it has to be a photo of those 4 or nothing?
The policy says all serving councillors.
Oh.
So, so obviously, if there's only if it's a collateral piece which wasn't a piece on the day, then it should be all of them. If it was a piece on the day and 6 turned up, it should be all 6 of them. That's the intent.
Can you just explain?
What's within collateral and what's within promotional?
Collateral in the interpretation of this policy is kind of standard collateral that maybe notices or informations to staff or the weekly updates or these kind of things. That's collateral. Promotional material is really where we're promoting events. Like we have 6 international events per year, and some of them are religiously specific. That's promotional material. Something that's getting something to a council event.
What about announcing council initiatives?
Is collateral. And that's collateral. Yeah, it's not promoting an event.
And an individual councillor's social media platform, if they have, I'm sorry, I withdraw that. If there is an event and there is a council photographer there or somebody contracted by the council to attend, are they able to take photos of individual councillors I'm just using examples, say it was a new exhibition at the Casula Powerhouse Gallery. You've got all the councillors there. You've got an official photographer. Can the official photographer take, in a sense, a standalone photo of a councillor beaming in front of a new sculpture or something like that?
They could take the photograph.
Right. That photo would not be, according to this policy, would not be allowed to be posted on the council social media platform?
Unless there were individual photographs of the 10 others
Yeah.
or 6 or whoever turned up.
Again, it talks about the permissions in paragraph 3, talks about permissions about publications and the fact that they remain council property if it was an official photograph. Yeah, but again, it gets a little bit, in that scenario, it sounds a little bit silly.
No.
So in that scenario, I don't think the intent of the policies around that particular scenario, if a councillor was at an event and you see these roving photographers walk around and they took a photograph of a councillor at an official event.
Look, maybe what I'm looking at is not a roving photographer, because my example of the art gallery might have a roving photographer, local press might have a roving photographer, and obviously in those circumstances, if a photo is taken of an individual councillor, that wouldn't be covered by this policy. But if there is a photographer engaged by council, if they did take an individual photograph of a councillor, as the Commissioner pointed out, if there weren't individual photos of all the councillors there, it would appear this policy would say you cannot post those photographs to Liverpool City Council Facebook page. We agree with that?
Yes.
But if the councillor turns to the photographer and says, that would have been a great photo of me, I want to put it on my Facebook page, is there anything preventing the photographer providing that to the individual councillor?
No, nothing covered by this policy.
I'll just leave that for the minute. The next associated topic that I wanted to deal with, and there is a lot of overlap, is work health and safety.
Yes.
Now, and again, I'm trying to shortcut this. There was the council election in September 2024, new council starting in October.
Yes.
In the lead up to, say, January 2024, in the context of social media, did you have meetings with a councillor to discuss work health and safety concerns?
Yes.
And when you did that initially, was it a matter that you made some kind of record in your diary or something like that?
Yes.
Could you just excuse me for a minute? I'm sorry about that.
That's right.
Would document LCC.003.001.0006 be brought up, please? Yes. Now, this one is dated the 9th of January, and you can see the contents there.
Yes.
Is it your practice that where you have such a meeting with a member of the governing body that you make that relatively succinct record in your diary?
Yes.
Looks like a police notebook.
Correct. It's a habit.
And is there another page? Does this follow on to? Could you just excuse me? Would you bring up LCC.003.001.0005 and would you just pause before live streaming that?
They're just in the room.
Can I just have a sec?
Yep,
there?
we'll hold.
Yes, that could be live streamed, please. Now this, from my reading of the page, seems to be a summary of meetings that you've had with the councillor.
Yes.
Jumping ahead, did you compile this summary when a safe work inspector had been attending Liverpool City Council?
Yes. Kathy Maltby had inquired about the times and dates that I had undertaken that activity, and that's why I just made that reference note.
And just looking at those, the 14th of October, so that's like is it a meet and greet?
Yes.
So something you did with all councillors, not controversial?
Yes. No, I didn't meet with Ethan. I couldn't catch a hold Ethan Monahan. And I met with Sam Carney, and I didn't meet with Mira, but I think everybody else.
Right. Now, 1st of November, does that record another meeting with the councillor, but it was just general discussions?
Yes.
Then is it the 28th of November, the initials to begin with?
Casula Powerhouse.
All right.
Yep.
A general discussion about that?
That was the general topic, I think. Yep.
Then on the 9th of January, you've got WHS and behaviour discussions.
Yes.
And that reflects the entry that we've just referred to in your diary.
Correct.
And then is that the 20th of February?
Yes.
Inglis.
Yeah, actually all the meetings were in Inglis. So Inglis is...
That's the location.
It's just outside Warwick Farm Racecourse. It's a coffee shop inside the foyer of the hotel.
And there you've got focused discussion on behaviour and is it...
It's politics.
Politics. When you had recorded focused discussion on behaviour, what did that in broadly, what topic?
Social media posts.
And I think we've just found the note for that meeting. Can we try LCC.003.001.0007? Yes. Oh, sorry. Excuse me for a minute. maybe at the moment, can we just not live stream it if it can just go up in the room? This is your note.
Yes.
The first paragraph, or the first paragraph of your note, you implored him not to pick on staff members.
Yes.
And then you actually refer to a particular staff member.
I do.
So was this, sorry, and then you've got, councillor has no appetite for, is it slopping?
Stopping.
Oh, stopping, sorry. Stopping this behaviour as he believes he must represent his constituents in this manner.
Correct.
Just putting it again broadly without details, you were raising with him either dealings or his relationship with particular staff members?
I was raising with him that staff members are off the subject. Don't pick on staff members. And I make a reference to legal leanings, so don't make it political, and then I name the person.
Yeah.
There've been some activity about that person, particularly on social media. And I said it's off limits. If you're going to play politics, that's one thing, but don't touch the staff.
So there'd been activity on social media against
That particular person.
referred to that particular staff member
Correct.
and identified that particular staff.
Correct. Either Commissioner, either directly or by his direct position.
And then you record the councillor's response, which was no appetite for stopping this behaviour as he believes he must represent his constituents in this manner?
In fairness, that's my interpretation of what he said.
And then the final note was you advised that this matter is one moving into WHS.
Yeah, well, we're getting very, very close to the edge now where a matter that could be considered as a complaint or a catacomb is now moving into a workplace health and safety environment, which escalates it outside in a different sphere.
Would that be an appropriate time?
Yes. Why had you formed that view at that time? This is February 2025.
Yeah, because of the nature of the content of what he was saying in the social media posts. We're now starting to talk about psychosocial welfare and those kind of areas where once we're in that space, I mean, it's not a cul-de-sac. You have to take actions and move forward.
And where in the note, so irrespective of ones, is it legal?
Legal leaning. Legal.
What did you
Liberal Party members.
Oh,
So
political.
Irrespective of what their legal leaning was, and that.
The reference to political.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, we'll take the lunch and adjournment. We'll resume at 2:00. Thank you,
Yep.
Mr. Brett.
Mr. Breton, I took you immediately before lunch to those two entries. Sorry, there might have been 3 entries in your diary. I just want to take you through some events that have occurred in January and February of this year. You've given evidence that ultimately Inspector Kathy Maltby from Safe Work attended the council and also had discussions with you and others about psychosocial hazards that seem to be emerging at the council.
Yes.
Can I just check within within the council's work health and safety system, there were procedures for risk assessments to be undertaken.
Yes.
And was there a risk register for work health and safety?
Yes.
And then was it the procedure that in respect of a particular work procedure or something else, a particular risk assessment looking at that work operation or something along those lines, or even a particular event could be then drafted or compiled?
Yep, the subject of a risk assessment, yes.
Yep. And in addition to the risk assessment, if at work an employee or a worker is confronted by circumstances which give rise to a work health and safety hazard or a work health and safety risk, was there first thing some way of reporting that hazard or risk within the system?
Yes.
Terminology, is it known as reporting a hazard or?
Yes, or an incident, yeah, or safety incident.
So hazard or safety incident.
Mm-hmm.
You've given evidence about this during the period that we're interested in. Work health and safety was part of, is it Orion, the kind of pay system?
Unfortunately, our platform for workplace and health safety is predominantly a payroll system.
Are you looking at changing that?
Well, we're doing it this year, yes.
Why do you say unfortunately?
Oh, because it's a payroll system, and coming from places like Downer, that you have a commercial off-the-shelf safety solution, which is a bespoke safety management system. But we've retrofitted a payroll system to accommodate the safety function.
And sorry, let me just think. And with that hazard notification or incident notification system, they're submitted, and then are they downloaded on some kind of risk register which is dealing with those particular types of hazards, risks or incidents?
Yeah, so there's a duplicate process. So the process on the individual issue will follow the Orion escalation. In these instances, you'd also enter them on the risk register, and the acronym there is CAMS. That's CAMMS. That's the system which records all our risks. One of those risk registers is a safety risk register, and on one of those risks on that register is psychosocial welfare.
And sorry, just so I get my understanding this, I'm a worker, I'm exposed to a hazard that is reported by the Orion system.
Yes.
But in addition, the CAMS system, is that separate from Orion?
It is.
And if you make a notification of a hazard, incident, risk via Horizon, is it automatically then duplicated into CAMS?
No, I guess if you think about it, the risk register, like any risk register, we used to do them on Excel. We have an enterprise risk management system, which is CAMS. So that's your risk register, albeit it's an e-register. But the actions and controls that you would employ against each hazard would be followed through on Orion. That is, there'd be an escalation up to, say, a manager with certain things to do, and the Orion system would reflect that individual issue. Where psychosocial hazards might be a linear risk description, you might have a number of actions and controls generally against that exposure on the risk register.
So the specific hazard or risk, that's been notified, the incident
The incident is on a
tracked
line.
through Orion, and the
Correct.
general risk of psychosocial hazards
Yeah.
goes into the risk register to be managed in accordance with council's overall management of risks generally, along with the raft of other things that are in a risk register.
Correct.
And the recording within your CAM system that this hazard or incident has been notified, I'm just looking at how it gets from Orion, into CAMS. Is it an automatic transfer, or does somebody looking at Orion have to say that should go across and be recorded in the risk register?
That would be the scenario, yes. So there's no automatic interface between the
Yep.
two systems. So the risk register, if one was talking about an action, it might be one of the actions is to liaise with Safe Work about psychosocial. That's really an action, okay? If a psychosocial hazard had been reported, say, against me, and it's in Orion, the actions against my issue are all in Orion. We're talking more holistically and generally in the other system, but Orion's where it happens. Yep.
All right. So if I was interested for a particular period in psychosocial hazards that had been notified
Yes.
by employees or anybody else at council, what would I interrogate to get a list?
The Orion system. And that would give you a list of, depending on the category you searched, would give you a list of that kind of hazard or risk, or more holistic numbers about how many safety incidents.
Now, I want to go to 2025 in January. Were you on leave towards the beginning of January?
Yes.
I want to bring up, and I'm going to kind of jump back and forth from documents just to try and streamline this if I can. Would document beginning of 23, but you were there during the instability of during 2023
And 4.
and 2024. Thank you. Is that comment a comment that you would agree with?
Yes.
And the issue of instability at the top, obviously that in your mind would involve CEO
Correct.
and also directors?
Yes.
That executive leadership?
Yes.
Anybody else?
No, I think this is around CEOs and directors.
That's a view you started in January 2023.
23, yes.
Is that a view you formed on joining the organisation?
This is what I was told on day one, Commissioner.
And it persisted through 2024?
Yes.
And what effect has it had on the organisation to your observation?
I think I think people are fatigued. I think they're fatigued about change at the top. And I think with every change at the top, there will always be a residual implication on what the beliefs or actions or behaviours or the way that people work at the top, and things change. And our workforce predominantly doesn't enjoy change. They like it stable. And I think our council is desirous of a period, whatever period that is, of stability at the top. I think our longest serving CEO is held for 4 years only in the last 15 to 20. So, and we've got plenty of workers that have been there through those CEOs. So stability, consistency of leadership, consistency of management decisions and transparency is something I think is really, really strongly wanted by the workers.
The periods of instability at the top create risks for the organisation?
100%. There's a number of behaviours that will fall down from instability at the top. In particular, there will be a position by the workers that things don't matter, or we don't have to do this, or there'll be a change coming up, or this circumstance will change. We can see that in the amount of issues that we're forwarding through to the Industrial Relations Court or otherwise, where a lot of these things were about instability at the top. And whatever position you take, left or right at the top, it has to be consistent.
What about strategy?
Strategy suffers because not only is it about the prosecuting the strategic plan, it's the interpretation and the ability of the leadership and capability of the leadership to actually prosecute the intent of the CSP and other strategic documents. And then when they see leadership making decisions that are not aligned with what they thought the strategy was, that again presents some problems. Our churn rate is not, that is the people leaving council, the churn is not different than most councils. So I don't know to what extent that's influenced people leaving council. But certainly in the early period, people were leaving council because of this instability. And I think I've given some evidence about even candidates now talk about it.
The earlier period, you mean January 2023 and that early period of your...
When I first got there, I was, just the image that was created was that, people were running down the street like the opening scene of a Godzilla movie. And I didn't see it, but you keep interrogating this perception, and yeah, there was chaos. People enjoyed the chaos.
There's a survey attached to this, if we can go through to page 9, which, just before I ask that, who was the CEO who was there for 4 years?
Kirsten Fishburne.
Oh, okay. So that's the commencement of the survey. If we turn to page 10, we've got, there are 122 responses. The annual report for 2022 shows that there were 746 full-time employees. So I think our maths, which are probably wrong, says that it's a response rate of about 16%.
I was going to say 15, but that's quite poor.
I was about to ask you that. Your experience with these types of surveys?
Yeah, I'm not relying on the statistics until you're around 40 to 60% of respondents.
Does the low response rate tell you something in itself?
It tells you that 0.1 was probably relevant. Yeah, it does. It means why would I do the survey? It tells me the lack of survey responses is absolutely consistent with a workforce that's not engaged in the process.
And then if we go through to page 15, which is employee sentiment, the pie chart, it seems to be broken it down into promoter, passive and detractor.
Yes.
And the detractor rates 51%. And I take it these are responses with promoters only 14%. Sorry, if we then jump to, still on that, on page 20, I think they've got some of the verbatim responses, but in colour.
Yes.
So the yellow comments are the detractors.
Yes.
Where they're saying disorganised, frustrating, toxic, chaotic, unfair and unsupportive, while the promoters say challenging, rewarding, supportive, diverse, busy, inclusive and respectful. And I know this is 2022, but just those results, and sorry, I should just pause. It would appear that in 2024, the survey changes slightly. So if you can't answer these, but in getting those types of responses, even though it's a relatively small group, it's rather a damning result. Do you know if council did anything with that? Or trying to rectify it or change it?
Yes, I'm sure they did. I mean, there's been employee engagement activities that predate that I was aware of, but that data set is so small that it's unreliable.
In answer to one of my earlier questions, your understanding was that surveys are undertaken annually?
Yes.
The next one that we were provided with pursuant to notice was July 2024. There doesn't seem to be a 2020, well, we weren't provided with a 2023 one.
It's okay. Look, the intent, and certainly even in my recent KPIs, is these surveys are annual. And if they're not, I might have mistaken it to be a survey annually. So we do community surveys and then we do staff surveys, but there'd be a survey at least once annually. If there's not one if it's not supplied, I assume that wasn't done.
Sorry, can we bring up LCC.001.004.0010?
There definitely was one done during Mr. Ajaka's tenure. I remember discussing it. So
A staff survey?
no, yes, a staff survey.
Of course, see this one you can see is July 2024. Mr. Ajaka had, unless the actual...
The survey may have been done beforehand.
No, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to say no. If you go to page 2, you can see survey was distributed to all staff on the 27th of June. Now, by that time, Mr. Ajaka had left.
Okay.
But you have a recollection of the 2023 one.
I think he instigated it. So maybe the survey was distributed on that date, but the work in relation to the survey questions was done during Mr. Ajaka's tenure. I absolutely remember sitting in his office talking about this.
All right. Now, can you see there the head count is 930?
Yes.
If we jump through to page 3, we've got 32% of all staff responded.
A little bit of a dark statistic, 32% of all staff finished it.
Yes, because if you look, 42 clicked into the survey but didn't complete, so incomplete responses weren't included.
Yes.
And then 26% did not click at all.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So the 32 is those who started and finished.
Start to finish, and the 42 have started but for some reason didn't complete. And their caveat there is they don't include those, but 40% is a good number.
Now, this time it's the survey is kind of different in, it would appear, in its questions and approaches. For example, it appears to if we go through it, if you go to page 5, 6 and 7, there's kind of a breakdown on who responded by directorate level length of service.
Yes.
See that?
Yes.
And then if we jump to page 8 or 9, it then seems to have, instead of what I showed you previously, the detractors, the promoters, and the kind of sitting on the fence, this time we've got testing the aspirational culture statement, which is working together to deliver. Sorry, this is on page 9. Have you got that up there?
Yes.
Good. Working together to deliver better outcomes for our community and each other. And the question is, to what extent do you think this statement reflects your aspirations for our culture? And then it's broken down into strongly agree with 62, agree 153, and then neither disagree or agree is 46. And then you've got 21 and 12 down the disagree strongly.
Yes.
Then if you go to page 10, there you appear to have some of the comments.
Yes.
Comments on the aspirational statement.
Yes.
On the aspirations.
Yeah. And there is a clear sentiment that the statement should be more inspiring and compelling. And so it seems to be an assessment of that actual kind of aspiration. Of course, there's comments like it's a little bland and could be any council. I agree with it, but it needs something that is more peculiar to us. And then if you jump through to 35, page 35, this is under the heading Big Ideas. They're asked, which of the following initiatives do you think would have the most impact in positively influencing and shaping our organisational culture? So the big item is making our processes and ways of working more efficient, 25% leadership development, clarified roles.
Yes.
And then if you jump to 37, this is what do you think is currently holding us back from achieving these behaviours? And again, leadership instability has been raised.
Yes.
Lack of clear direction from management, poor communication between leadership and staff, resistance to change and innovation, employee engagement and recognition, lack of feedback, culture and trust issues, operational inefficiencies and training and development needs. And then if you go across to page 38, there are other comments you would like to add, and they come under the heading, for example, of staff shortages, chronically short-staffed, and there are too few staff who care enough, who aren't burnt out to share the load, etc. Now, this particular survey, as it states, it's July 2024. So at that time, you were the acting CEO.
Yes.
It was obviously provided to you and
Yes.
you read it.
Yes.
What was your overall view on the survey result?
Fantastic.
Really?
Yes, because I've implemented every single, can go back to the one slide above the list, every single dot point there. I can provide evidence that I have challenged and implemented. The other thing is, I should say, is it's a very, this is a very dark statistic when we look at, if we can go back to the percentage slide on slide 3,
On how many people responded?
No, this one here. This is very informative because
Sorry, just a sec. It's at page 3.
yes, page 3. This is informative because City Futures at the time had 27 staff. Operations had 337. So when we talk about statistical skew, responded, but only 1 in 5 of the 337 responded operationally. So what I take from that is that the overall statistics can't be relied on from the consistent position across directorates. But what is informative is the comments away from the statistics in relation to no succession plan or the, sorry, can we go back to the list of the dot point one?
Was that page 37?
Yeah. Leadership is stable. Okay. Again, the management team is stable, and we've had a stack of work around management training.
Just got rid of 2 directors.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we can talk to that. That's about a financial decision, but of the leaders that stayed, they're all still there. So there's no change. There's just less. You can argue the word of change. We have done a stack of work on management training, that is training the middle managers, because.
Can I just pause? So your view of this survey, even though it was, as you described it, skewed in that it was overall 32%, and of the 32%, it came from City Futures the most, and a small response from operations.
Yes.
Your view is that given the comments that were made, for example, on page 37, the benefit to you of this survey is you took into account those comments?
Correct.
And you've started to, in your view, introduce changes to deal with them?
100%.
So is that the context in which you said the survey result was fantastic, in that it gave you a platform and a basis to take steps?
World's best audit of what my people are thinking at the time. And this, I probably didn't need to see the dot points to understand what it was, because it was evident in the workplace.
Some of the issues are those issues that I think, in answer to one of my questions earlier, you said were evident to you from day one.
Evident. I mean, we are the most innovative local council in Australia, without a doubt. So resistance to change and innovation is a nonsense to me now. Our culture work around employee value proposition is exceptional. Inefficiencies drives Project 26. All these things are in play. Our word for this year, Commissioner, is better. We don't have to be world's best. We have to be better. And at every town hall, every time I speak to the staff, there's a sign on my door that says, can it make the boat go faster? Enter if you've got great ideas. At every town hall, I offer up anybody just to stand up and tell me an idea, and I'll take it on. Don't care if it's good, bad or ugly. So some of these concepts were fantastic for me, because they gave me a very quick roadmap to improve.
Right, is it appropriate?
Yes. Mr. Breton, we'll need to continue with your evidence on Monday.
Yep.
Probably we'll see you back here on Monday.
Thank you.
Start at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
And I'll adjourn until then. Thank you, everybody.